unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego UNPACKED. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Ah, yes. The Canelo fans, the man fans are in full panic mode as things reach a fever pitch and they're going out of their way to defend Canelo, which is causing a meltdown because your boy Ego. Canelo says he's moving up to cruiserweight to fight Macabu, and the fans are losing it trying to explain this away. We unpack. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys smash the like button. It takes a few seconds. It's free, it's harmless, it's painless, and it goes a long way to encourage, to let others know that the content is fire. So please help others arrive at the content by throwing a like on the video. Now I'm back with my segment, Unpacked. We unpack, coming to you live. And this is Canelo hugging his trainer. Now, this video was needed. I told you I'm gonna make several videos about this. And it is funny because you have the Canelo man fans, the Chupapi Muñeño man fans. And I continue to make videos about the content that's hot. I'm always gonna talk about the latest and greatest. There's nothing anybody can do about that. I ran my channel like that. I talk about what's current, what's trending, what's popping, what's hot. And ultimately on my channel, I talk about what I want to talk about. So the latest news is Canelo Alvarez. He says he's gonna fight Macabu at cruiserweight. Very unexpected. Many people didn't think that Canelo had any plans. And trust me, there's gonna be a slew of videos that I make about this, so stay tuned. And the funny thing about this YouTube platform is you have the detractors, the haters, the naysayers, and they're angry with the facts that I present in my video, but they can't refute. As I often say, you can dislike, but you can't disprove. Now, in their efforts to combat what's being said, you know, we're gonna take a look at that. So this news hit people different ways. For me, I don't like the fight for several reasons. So some could argue, yes, there's an inherent danger because he's giving up size, but that's actually not that great of an argument considering the fact that Canelo's walk around weight is much, much higher. It's much higher, and that's why I had to do the unpack. Much higher than people would think. So although it seems like, oh, this crazy cut, Canelo is used to fighting at the higher weights. In fact, when Canelo was at 154/Canelo weight of 155, and he fought and brought Amir Khan, a welterweight who only had a handful of fights like Luis Calazo and Devin Alexander. Most recently, before the Canelo fight, he had fought Chris Algieri. Didn't even look good in that fight. Got hurt in the first round. So yeah, when the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas was first created, Canelo fought Amir Khan. He brought him up. People wanted to see at the time, they wanted him to fight, had no guys, had Max Gennady Golovkin. But he chose to have an interim fight with Amir Khan. Now, Amir Khan, as we know, he did well in the first 4 rounds or so. Canelo started to get a read and get his timing down, and boom, destroys Amir Khan with the right hand. The rest is history. Canelo wins by knockout, right? Very cliche, very easy fight for the God MC, Boxingego, the God of boxing talk, to see. Like, that was an easy prediction. I knew Khan's chin wouldn't hold up at that higher weight, and you've never seen Amir Khan go back up to that weight class that I can think of, you know, after that point. So correct me if I'm wrong. You guys do your fact check. But the reason I brought up the Amir Khan fight way back when is because when Amir Khan fought him, boom, Canelo Alvarez rehydrated to 180 pounds. So you see tons of videos and content. Khan says Canelo must have been 180 pounds. This was May 9th because he fought Khan. I was at that fight in Vegas. He fought him Cinco de Mayo weekend. You know, I covered that fight week. And it says Canelo must have been 180 pounds. Amir Khan says his punches had zero effects on the heavier WBC middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez, right? Canelo versus Amir Khan. Canelo to hydrate to 180 pounds, right? Amir Khan, Canelo was around 180 pounds. I didn't expect yada, yada, yada. So moving up is not for me. This is after I told you guys that this was a bad look for Amir Khan, right? And in true Canelo man fan fashion, this is another fight that I was making videos about because I had the wherewithal to say this is no good and this we know what's going to happen is only one outcome. Because in a fight like Amir Khan, no matter how good he did and he did do good in the first 4 rounds, he couldn't afford to make one mistake. When you got a shaky chin and you're fighting a bigger guy and a skilled guy and a puncher, you know, it just spells disaster. So Amir Khan couldn't make one single move that was the wrong move or he would get knocked out. And you've seen with one single shot, one fell swoop, it was over for him. But after, when Khan came to reality and got knocked out in his career, you know, he hasn't really had a marquee win since that point, you know, before that point. Khan says moving up is not for me. So again, the great ego Stradamus strikes again. When I say these things in real time, people say, I don't know what I'm talking about. But then after the fact, you get to see it. So Khan says moving up is not for me. Canelo was 180 pounds, near 190 pounds, right? And this again was in 2016. So he says in 2016, taking us back to today's video, we unpack coming to you live. In 2016, when Canelo was at 154/155, he says Canelo Alvarez rehydrated to 180, near 190 pounds. So high 180s. And that's when he was at junior middleweight. So that's quite the rehydration clause. So much to the point, if you watch the Max Kellerman face-off, they did a face-off with Canelo. Payday, you want payday, I know that. And Amir Khan. And Amir Khan had Virgil Hunter there. I don't remember if Eddie Reynoso was there, but I remember Virgil Hunter was there. And Virgil Hunter was like, he said the way Canelo rehydrates in his fights, he's like, man, I would love to be a fly on the wall and see how he's doing that. He's rehydrating all this weight. And this is what questions Virgil Hunter said. So don't take my word for it. Go watch the HBO, which is now not in boxing, Face Off, where Virgil Hunter was there with Amir Khan representing his fighter because he was training him at the time. And he said he would love to be a fly on the wall to see how Canelo is doing this in rehydrating, making weight on Friday and making 155 pounds because he made his own weight class, and then rehydrating all the way to 180, 190. And this, keep in mind, but wait, there's more. Keep in mind, when they recorded this was a face-off, so it was clearly before the fight. So you have Virgil Hunter before the fight talking about Canelo's weight and saying, man, how's he rehydrating? How's he doing this severe weight cut and then rehydrating and replenishing all this crazy weight overnight in literally less than 24 hours? Because when they weigh in, let's say noon Pacific Standard Time. And then by 8 p.m. when he walks out or whatever, he's 190 pounds. So the reason I'm bringing up the Amir Khan fight again is because in 2016, when he was a junior middleweight, Amir Khan says he was 180 to 190. So people are saying, oh, Canelo at cruiserweight. Imagine how much weight over the years he physically looks bigger. So since that point, he also failed a drug test Let's keep that in mind. But now he's fighting and campaigning at higher weights. So if in 2016, Canelo Payday was rehydrating 180 plus pounds, high 180s, 190, close to 190, as Virgil Hunter was questioning his radical rehydration process. And Amir Khan said after he felt the power and the punches and, you know, probably talk behind the scenes or whatever from HBO unofficial scoring, or excuse me, unofficial weighing, right? And they're like, dang, how's he weighing that much? So imagine Canelo, if he was weighing this at 154, 155 Canelo weight, imagine how much he's rehydrating if he's doing less weight cuts. At one point it was 160, said he wanted to be undisputed, but then he didn't want to fight Jermall Charlo or Demetrius Andrade, so he moved up and fought Kovalev, right? So now he fought Kovalev at 175, and then he fought against Caleb Plant, as you guys see on the screen, and Rocky Fielding and a few other guys at 168. So again, to connect the dots, if you don't see where I'm going right now, Canelo Alvarez, Mr. Payday, in 2016 was already rehydrating to 180 something plus pounds. How much could he possibly be rehydrating if he's doing less of a weight cut? So once again, his walk around weight is way bigger than where he's campaigning. And the reality is there's a lot of fighters like that. Josh Taylor, he's making 140, he's making the weight, but he's big. You can look at him. I seen him next to Terrence Crawford, and he's big. You know, Jerron Boots Ennis, he's campaigning at welterweight, but he's big, et cetera, et cetera. So Canelo's not the only one doing these severe weight camps, you know, or weight cuts. But the thing that's interesting is Canelo is also 31 years old, and he's doing it because once you hit that late 20s, 30 mark, those weight cuts, you know, your body's not as pliable, your metabolism and the natural production of things like testosterone and, you know, metabolism slow down for you. So it becomes harder to maintain that. That's why you see guys like Lamont Peterson, who stayed at 140 for so many years throughout his career. He eventually moved up because it's probably hard to make 140 when he became a grown man for real, you know, late 20s, 30s. So he ended up fighting at the higher weight classes. So Jerron Ennis, guys like that, I can even understand him making these crazy weight cuts because he's like 22 years old or whatever age. Canelo's 31 years old making this. So for me, Canelo picking the weakest link at cruiserweight when he's been walking around way heavier, he's been sparring with heavier people. You have to understand Canelo is a vulture and he's an opportunist and he's a strategist. So he's probably been, unbeknownst to the public, working on these moments. For example, there was a moment where Canelo Alvarez was sparring with a heavyweight, Frank Sanchez. So Frankie Sanchez was working with him. That's someone in his gym. Look, Frank Sanchez. So in Canelo's mind, he's probably knew that him and the WBC was going to work together. And I made videos about this. Look, he's working with the heavyweight. So it's really not as impressive as you guys are thinking. And this is an older video. I mean, I don't know exactly what month it came out, but him sparring, he's probably been planning to move to cruiserweight or whatever the situation is. You know what I mean? He's sparring a heavyweight. So him fighting a guy who only became a champion because, see, this is the other thing. Ilunga Makabu, I don't even know how to spell his name, cuz. Ilunga, how y'all spell that? Ilunga, there it is. Congolese boxer, right? He eating the belt and stuff. Like, who is cuz, bro? Look, he putting that dirty belt all in his mouth, man. So anyway, Ilunga Makabu, he's 28-2. Both losses were knockout losses. He's 30. He's older than Canelo. He's like 34, mid 30s or whatever. And if you guys see, boom, he became a champion. This is what Canelo's doing. He became a champion last year by fighting this random guy, Michael Cieslak, for a vacant belt. Vacant belt. The vacant WBC belt. Vacant. This belt was occupied by a real fighter. His name was Alexander Usyk. But now you guys see right there, vacant. So he just became a champion last year by fighting some random guy. Who is that, bro? Barry Pepper? Like, I don't even know who that is. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you can become a champion multitudes of ways. So he lost a decision. This random guy who has name one name that he's ever fought that you reckon. Sean Cox, bro, that sounds like a porn star. Who is cuz? Like, bro, who is that? Bangbros.com. Jarno Rosberg. Man, come on. And this is who he beat to become a champion. And Canelo's trying to fight this guy to make it look like he's the real deal. Bro, like I said, it's not going to work. But let's keep going. So he won a vacant belt because Alexander, and that's why I'm doing the unpack, because Alexander Usyk moved up because he's so good. He became undisputed, won the World Boxer Super Series. And then after, he knocked out Tony Bellew. So there was really nothing else left for him to be doing in the division. So rightfully so, he decided to move up, leaving a belt behind. And this is to track it for you guys. Look, he had the WBC World Cruiserweight title. You see? So he had the WBC belt in 2018, and he won the World Boxing Series by beating Murat Gassiev. Then he knocked out a game guy who had beaten David Haye at heavyweight twice, and then he knocked him out, and then moved up to heavyweight to fight Chaz Tablespoon. You know, so this is how the Ilunga became a champion. I could respect it if Ilunga had to go through this man because he can fight. He just beat Anthony Joshua. Alexander Usyk, he could beat Anthony Joshua. You know, at heavyweight, he's a beast. He's a beast because he didn't even particularly look good in the two fights before, Chisora and Chaz Tablespoon. He didn't even look good in his first heavyweight fights, but he put it all together for Joshua, the meaningful fight. So Ilunga Makbuk, he didn't fight a guy like Tony Bellew or Usyk. He fought whoever that Barry Pepper looking dude was, you know, to become a champion after Usyk left the division. If Usyk decided, I mean, there was nothing left for him, but if Usyk decided to stay in the division, I mean, could this guy really beat him? And he just lost to Makbuk. And could Makbuk, who got knocked out by Tony Bellew? See, you guys got to understand boxing. Makbuk got knocked out by Tony Bellew, and then Usyk destroyed Tony Bellew and knocked him out viciously. See, y'all don't know boxing. Out Tony Bellew. So Usyk beat look, this is the knockout from the Usyk fight. Look, so Usyk, a real champion, as I'm stating, beat the guy that beat the guy. So Makbuk beat the Barry Pepper dude, and Usyk won the World Boxer Super Series and destroyed the guy that beat Makbuk. And keep in mind, see, again, I can go so deep. Y'all really don't know boxing. Tony Bellew, he was at light heavyweight and lost to Adonis Stevenson. So Canelo fighting, he's already fought at light heavyweight and he's fighting at 168, and his walk around, as I mentioned throughout this video, is higher. So it's not as crazy a feat as y'all making it sound. Tony Bellew was at light heavyweight getting stopped by the likes of Adonis Stevenson and later moved up to heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? And Tony Bellew, credit to him, fought real people even at the higher weights, like Usyk, that's a real person, and he fought against David Haye, right? So, and he fought BJ Flores, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he did. He knocked him out. So that's what I'm saying. It's different. Canelo's trying to create this fake little legacy. Yeah, BJ Flores, who trains Jake Paul right now and he knocked him out in 3. So he was fighting real people, you know. And back to the original thing. See, I got multiple things, so I'm probably have to do another video about this. But I end up getting sidetracked and discussing some of the other angles to it. But I'm gonna just stay tuned to the channel. I'm gonna be dropping the heat and I'm gonna be talking about it. It's all surrounding this Cap Nelo stuff, right? But what I'll be talking about is I made a video, right? Made a video and look at the names, faces, and profile pics of the people doing the most hating. Jovan Velez says to me, "You are an idiot. This guy," meaning Canelo, "would kill Charlo and Benavidez," shaking my head. Now, what I'll follow up with in that video is this. It's very ironic that the Canelo man fans leave comments to me like this saying I'm an idiot and that Canelo will destroy Benavidez and destroy Jermall Charlo. But why can't I get to watch that? What part of boxing is it where I have to listen to the opinions of random fans who are name calling that I've never talked to? I don't know your history in boxing. I don't know who you beat. I don't know who you beat. I don't know who you lost to. I don't know nothing about your opinions. I don't know your fight prediction streak. Why would I listen to you regarding who you believe would win? And why won't Canelo and his team show me that Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez would get killed by Canelo and get destroyed in body, since I'm an idiot? So you tell me, what is the more idiotic standpoint? For me to just randomly believe some random stranger who's name calling and take his word for it because he says Canelo will beat? And the funny thing is, you have the Canelo man fans, the chupapi muñeño, bichotazo, right? And the Canelo man fans, they seem to have all the courage in the world online. And why don't you give some of that to Team Canelo, to Canelo and Eddie Reynoso? Because you seem to have more confidence that Canelo easily gets these fights done and gets through them than his own team. Because if his team felt that way, then why wouldn't they take it? Listen to what I'm saying, people. The whole world is screaming for Canelo to fight one of a handful of names. Max Kellerman says he wants Canelo to fight Beterbiev. Teddy Atlas says he's tired of seeing Canelo fight these same types of guys. So the same guys that we know that can't beat him, that he became undisputed from fighting. You know, mostly British, domestic level guys with domestic resumes, all Caucasian, one Turkish guy, and then a Caucasian American, Caleb Plant, who only had 21 fights, right? So why don't we get to see Canelo in action fight these names? Because there's nobody that can intelligently express and make me believe that David Benavidez or Jermall Charlo on Showtime would not be a bigger fight. Canelo is saying, and this is the funny thing, Canelo is claiming, he's like, "Viva Mexico, cabrones!" And he's trying to get the screaming and trying to get the fans on his side. But if you're the people's champ, fight who the people are asking you. He says, no boxing, no life. Who told Canelo to go up to cruiserweight? Now, if Canelo was really, it's really about the order of operations. Because if Canelo wanted to dare to be great, you execute everyone in and around your division to certify who you are. And then after, nobody could say anything. And let's say they asked Canelo, they said, "Why are you moving up to cruiserweight?" He said, "Because I like challenges." But that's the worst thing he could have said, because the perception from the public is Beterbiev is a challenge. That's why Max Kellerman wants to see it. David Benavidez is a challenge. Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andre, Dimitri Bivol are challenges. So if you have ready-made challenges that are bigger fights, especially in America where you're fighting or have been fighting, and they're ready-made challenges in or around your current division, why would you leave all of that and fight to seek some challenge. Like that's ASS backwards. It makes no sense. You don't like, okay, let's say a fighter lives in Las Vegas and in his weight class, he's a welterweight. You got Errol Spence living in Vegas. You got Jaron Ennis living in Vegas. You got Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford living in Vegas. And you're a welterweight that needs sparring. Why would you go to Utah and say, man, I need to get some good sparring, when you have good sparring right where you're at? That doesn't make sense. Once again, peep the play, peep the setup. If you are looking for sparring in the welterweight division, and there's this plethora of names that are all located in Vegas, Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Boots Ennis, Errol, Terrence Crawford, and all y'all live in Vegas, you do not need to relocate and move your camp to Salt Lake City, Utah in search of sparring. You want challenges or sparring that'll help you grow? These guys are all top rated welterweights. They can provide that. So applying that to Canelo Alvarez, he's saying he's in search of a challenge. So he's going to a stale division where Usyk already left, and he was the best guy in recent memory of that division, where there's also a guy, Maris Bradis, who's pretty good too, right? I can't say he's accomplished as much as Usyk, but he's pretty good. You got guys like Dorticos, and these aren't the guys that Canelo was trying to fight. He's saying, I'm in search of a challenge, so I want to fight some guy that nobody's heard of. And this is why Canelo's being ridiculed for this motion. And the WBC is securing it, and Canelo fans are just running with it. You know, nobody that I've ever seen has requested that. And again, it makes no sense for Canelo to say he's looking for challenges. If you're looking for challenges, Benavidez is a challenge, I can assure you. But the reason I can't prove what I'm saying is because Canelo won't fight him. I believe Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade and Beterbiev and Benavidez and Bivol, I believe they're all challenges for Canelo's style. But I can't prove it because Canelo won't fight them. And he won't fight him. He wants to fight him on his watch. And the Canelo fans are leaving comments like, oh, you're an idiot. Canelo will kill this guy. Show me that. Don't tell me nothing. Show me that Canelo will beat him by making the fight. And again, these are all bigger fights. Every fight that I've listed are bigger than Canelo versus some unheralded guy who has 2 knockouts. It doesn't even sound sexy. Canelo versus Makabu. Canelo versus MacBook Pro or whatever his name is. And then people, casuals, they're like, okay, I know Canelo. Who's this guy? He got a big head, a big target. You know what I mean? And then you look at his box record and you're like, dang, he lost 2 times, both by stoppage. It's not as attractive. And then on top of this, bro, look at how Canelo is finessing the game. Canelo wants to fight on the quote unquote Mexican dates. If you're fighting Macabula, possibly in Congo or Africa or whatever, then the Mexican dates don't really apply. It's not really applicable. What is the Mexican dates if you go somewhere that doesn't celebrate the Mexican dates, where it's not part of that inherent culture? That doesn't even make sense. In America right now, more so than even Mexico, those dates are prominent, right? Those dates are prominent. So this just goes to show you that it's cap. Why would you go to a place? Why would you go to a place that doesn't even recognize or observe those holidays, but then say you're the people's champion and Viva Mexico, cabrones, and say you're doing it for the people and you want the Mexican dates because they mean something to you, but then you could fight David Benavidez, who's half Mexican, half Ecuadorian, but also Spanish speaking, in an intense all action fight based on the styles. And Benavidez, he hasn't shown fear to come forward. And you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to fight some African. You know, I know fans have said they want to see Canelo fight a black fighter. These aren't the fighters that, it's not just any black fighter for the sake of fighting a black fighter. They want to see you against certain style matchups. But apparently, Karen Alvarez or whatever, he got other plans. And that's just the reality of it. and is leaving his fans having a conniption fit and a meltdown. They just talking about how Canelo would destroy everybody in their path. And another reason I really don't like is because now Canelo's gonna have a built-in scapegoat to not ever have to fight Jermall Charlo or Demetrius Andrade if he gets too far from the weight class where he's currently at. So for multitudes of reasons, I don't like it. For example, if you fight someone at 200 pounds, then are you going to be screaming to jump back down to 168? You know, can you ever go underneath 168? Probably not. You know what I mean? And then you try to fight Benavidez at 180 or something. And that's not what this should be about. And after securing the bag and doing great numbers, Canelo is taking a backward step. He's regressing. There's no way MacBook and Canelo fight and put on a better and higher, bigger financial success than his last fight. And isn't that part of business? You know, so it'll be interesting if he does fight him to see what network picks it up, you know, and what the numbers are. I hope they come out with the numbers, but this is why Canelo's receiving this. And again, the Canelo fans are having a meltdown. They don't know what to do. They're trying their dangdest to find a way to justify why this makes sense. And the fight that no one requested but Canelo and his team in the WBC, why that gets made. And again, it's the order of operations. If Canelo beat David Benavidez and destroyed him like the fans are saying, and he beat Jermall Charlo and Andrade, you know, a couple of the guys, beat Benavidez, and then say, hey, man, I need a challenge. These dudes can't challenge me. I'm moving up to cruiserweight. Nobody would say nothing. Like Roy Jones Jr. Canelo will never be like Roy Jones Jr. Never, ever. Because Roy Jones Jr., he got bored. So he literally had to keep moving up because he was Mr. Untouchable for so many years. From the late 80s to the mid 2000s, he was Captain Hook, Mr. Untouchable. Didn't I just say that? This would take some time. You take some, I'm coming to get it back. You beat me, I say, okay, we had a good night. I'm still coming to get it back. You take it. This honestly, I'm coming to get back. Pensacola in the house. That's a beast. Canelo's having tough fights with Danny Jacobs and Caleb Plant, and then he's saying he need more challenger. You're not Roy Jones, where you just pulling away and, you know what I'm saying, you're destroying. So Canelo's going after the weakest link because he wants to have this fake legacy and say, I'm a 5-division champion. Manny Pacquiao's an 8-division champion, and he earned it, fighting top competition. Margarito in his 8th world title fight in 8th weight class. Floyd Mayweather, look at his 5 weight classes, right? Look at who he's fighting in those 5th weight classes. Oscar and Canelo himself and guys like that. Canelo's trying to fight some MacBook who won a vacant title. And the fans are trying to justify it like this is what they want. This is hilarious. I'll be talking about this forever. So, you know, buckle up, subscribe to the channel. We unpack. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.